This video is brought to you by MyHeritage. So, in my lifetime, no public figure has flown as high and then fallen as far as Kanye West, now known as Ye. Once revered for creating some of the most incredible music in hip-hop history, he's now a failing fashion designer with strong anti-Semitic leanings, and it really sucks. And honestly, there isn't much else to unpack there. Ye has spoken about struggling with untreated mental illness, but of course, plenty of folks dealing with similar difficulties manage to not publicly endorse bigotry. Amidst the scandal, one aspect of his dwindling empire has us less outraged and more just baffled. Donda Academy.
Good morning, Donda. Good morning, Donda. Good morning, Donda. Good morning, Donda.
Ye's uncredited K-12 school in Southern California, which according to him currently has 82 students. At the time of filming, Donda Academy had apparently reopened, shortly after announcing it was closing for the year following Ye's anti-Semitic comments. Based on how this news cycle has played out, things may have changed by the time you're watching this. I just really hope that they haven't changed so much that in about 45 seconds, I'm gonna pop up wearing a different outfit to tell you that this video is brought to you by Donda Academy. That would suck. Donda Academy has always been a weird pitch. Ye called it a
gospel school
focused on teaching kids practical tools that they need in a world post the iPhone being created. Whatever in the hell that means. The teachers, most of which are not accredited or have no experience in education, he claims,
and actually turn your kids to like geniuses.
It's sort of like his version of
the Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good.
In this era of personal branding, celebrities affiliate themselves with just about every product imaginable. But a boutique branded school is a surreal next step. And I challenge everyone, let's do our favorite celebrity branding in the comments. So why would Ye want to get into education? And why would parents want to send their kid to a school run by a guy who once rhymed, "My apologies, are you into astrology? Because I'm trying to make it to Uranus." And I really hope that Donda Academy at least teaches the difference between astrology and astronomy. But not only does Ye's vision for Donda Academy make sense in this tumultuous period of his life, but understanding Donda Academy can actually illuminate a lot about Ye's peculiar status as a public figure. We'll explain in this Wisecrack Edition, why does Ye want to run a school? Okay, but first, I wanted to take a second to talk about today's sponsor, MyHeritage DNA. MyHeritage DNA is a family history and DNA service that helps you discover your origins and find new relatives, all in a few easy steps. So a few weeks ago, MyHeritage sent me their DNA test kit. After registering my kit online, all I had to do was swap my cheek for a few seconds. I feel like I got a little Portuguese on that one. Put those swabs in the provided vials and send my sample off in the mail for the folks at MyHeritage to analyze. So my results just came in today, and I'm very excited to take a look. Okay, I'm checking out my results. Whoa, this is a whole experience. Guys, you would never believe this. You would never believe that I'm 81% Irish. Oh, and then we got some Northern European. Oh, and the music's changing based on where I'm from. Let's see. Oh, we got some more. Oh, and of course, what would I be without my 8.3% Italian and Southern European? Wow, my heritage spans all the way from the top part of Europe to the bottom part of Europe. So, if you are interested in finding out more about your family's origins, head over to myheritage.com or click the link in the description. Use code Wisecrack at checkout to get free shipping, and as an added bonus, you'll get a free 30-day trial of MyHeritage's best subscription for family history research and 50% off if you decide to continue. What a deal. And now, let's get back to the show. And real quick, just wanted to note that while we don't run a school, we have a Patreon and you can join it. There's no tuition fee or NDA, but you pay a little bit of money, it supports us directly, and you get some really cool perks like extra audio and video content. You get on our Discord server, and you get videos early and with no ads. So if I did have to do a Donda Academy ad, you won't have to see it. So do check that out. The link is in the description. Now, it's important to note that by opening Donda Academy, named for his late mother, herself a college English professor, Ye is following in a long tradition of personality-based education, though he probably doesn't know that because he said he's never read a book. Now, to understand, let's go way back to ancient Greece. Back then, schooling wasn't formally structured. Instead, students gravitated towards teachers with unique personalities and philosophies, the greatest being Socrates. Two of the earliest teachers of the year were superstar orator Socrates and Socrates' best student, Plato. In case that was unclear, Socrates is one guy, Socrates is another guy. Sort of like how Michael is me and then Michael is another guy designed by Apple to compete with me. They broke the mold by establishing schools in the 4th century BC with curriculums tailored around their founders' interests. Socrates students focused on rhetoric, Plato's on philosophy. Now, Plato's disciple Aristotle then started his own school, which included gym class and a curriculum focused on preparing students to be virtuous citizens. Okay, so bear with us as we flash forward past the fall of Rome to the Dark Ages, during which the church dominated Western education. Around 1100, there emerged what scholar William Boyd calls the Age of Great Teachers, in which men traveled across Europe seeking out famed scholars. It's like that movie Eurotrip, except not at all. They'd identify by their teacher's name. Those who studied under Robert of Milan were called the Melundanes and shared his belief that then current theological teachings were superficial. But as prestigious colleges were established, institutional reputation began to supersede that of individual teachers. And yet, when you flash forward to modern times, we still see prominent intellectual figures establishing schools, often shaping curriculums around their own ethos. Russian novelist Leo Tolstoy started a school with a guiding philosophy of fun, without homework or a fixed schedule. It brought together kids of different socioeconomic backgrounds, in keeping with his lifelong goal of uplifting the Russian peasantry. Henry Thoreau started a school with his brother that embraced a style of learning rooted in his transcendentalist philosophy. The curriculum had a strong emphasis on nature walks and deep discussion. Meanwhile, Spanish anarchist Francisco Ferrer y Guardia founded La Escuela Moderna in Barcelona, where he fittingly pioneered self-guided autonomous learning. German architect Walter Gropius started the Bauhaus School, whose utopian philosophy differed starkly from the artistic mainstream. Gropius's curriculum was centered around his dream of uniting high art and low craftsmanship in order to design a more aesthetically pleasing, practical world. This trend of popular cultural figures starting their own schools with curriculums suited to their worldview continues today, though it's changed as celebrities have supplanted great thinkers in the popular consciousness. Fittingly, we see an increasing number of celebrities like Pharrell starting schools, often for underserved communities. Will Smith tried and failed to sustain a school with a Scientology-light curriculum. And George Clooney led a team of A-list celebs in establishing a specialized LA academy to train members of underrepresented communities for careers in entertainment. And for his part, Pitbull started a school with an emphasis on sports and sports management, because Pitbull knows about sports. But across the board, when famous public figures choose to enter education, they'll typically infuse their own ideologies or educational priorities into the curriculum. It's like if I started a school, we'd learn about European philosophy, existentialism, the movies of the Coen brothers, the history of the Grateful Dead, and the importance of taking long walks. Oh yeah, and we'd watch a lot of episodes of the show Scrubs. This makes sense because school is a mechanism for propagating social values and norms. As scholar John Dewey writes, we speak of education as shaping, folding, molding activity. That is, a shaping into a standard form of social activity. Education isn't just about learning how to count or read. It's about learning how to be and behave. So what can learning about the very secretive Donda Academy teach us about how it's trying to shape student behavior? From its inception, Donda Academy has been defined by intrigue and exclusivity. Initially proposed as tuition-free, the school now costs $15,000 a year. According to reports, students' parents sign NDAs. This may seem sexy to some, with Kanye's collaborator artist Malik Yusuf arguing that, quote, people choose to bring their kids to Donda Academy for a sense of privacy. Because if there's one way to guarantee privacy, it's associating with Ye in 2022. And this all feels symptomatic of Kanye's modus operandi. That is, his tendency to operate on his own terms without accountability. Yusuf defends this approach, saying, "I don't think Kanye needs to tell the world what he's doing so that he can be under more scrutiny. If you're starting to feel some culty vibes, it's because this is giving pretty culty vibes."
Good morning, Donda. Good morning, Donda.
It only takes a quick glance at the website to see that it evokes the kind of slick, hip marketing we typically associate with West. The simple black and white aesthetic is even reminiscent of past Yeezy campaigns. Scrolling through, it's not hard to see it as an exercise in appealing visuals and marketing buzzwords with seemingly little substance. It's full of phrases like, "We promote ideation, prototyping, and real-world implementation," to which I ask, of what? For whom? And how? The importance of Donda Academy's aesthetics cannot be overstated. The students apparently wear uniforms designed by Yeezy as well as frequent collaborator Balenciaga. If you don't know anything about Balenciaga, here's what I know: expensive. The school's emphasis on religion also has aesthetic preoccupations, with images of the children at daily worship evoking Ye's famous Sunday services. Their curriculum is similarly designed for maximum hype, with enrichment classes including sexy, unconventional subjects like fashion and parkour. And to be fair, both Plato and Aristotle also thought that gymnastics were a part of a well-rounded education. Parkour is kind of like that, so yeah, we'll let him have this one. Arguably though, the curriculum's flashiness belies its lack of rigor. Abu Askia pulled his son out of Donda Academy, telling the New York Post that the school was not aggressive on academics and our son's grades were slipping. They need to tighten up their curriculum. Oh, and what about the teachers? Well, the website claims that our experienced educators have an uncompromised passion for creating lifelong learners and Christ followers, but it offers approximately zero information about who actually teaches there. In fairness, a few weeks ago, they did have information on the teachers on the website, and they since scrubbed all of it. I can confirm that they weren't educators. They're just like people. According to Rolling Stone, principal and executive director Breanne Campbell had no previous experience in education, most recently serving as choir director of Ye's Sunday services. This adds to our suspicion that Donda Academy is another Ye performance. It suggests that he thinks the skills required to put on a good show are equally applicable to running a school. Ye's collaborator, Yusuf, is similarly vague, describing himself as an administrator, administering information to young growing minds. And the school's emphasis on religion feels a little dicey when you consider Ye's recent anti-Semitic rants and their lack of affiliation with any established denomination or church. Donda Academy seems to be about lots of slick marketing and provocative branding without much educational substance. Fittingly, this matches the evolution of Ye's music, which critics have noted has increasingly become about seductive aesthetics rather than artistic cohesiveness. Of his most recent album, New York Magazine critic Craig Jenkins said, "Kanye is running on empty," describing the music as half-formed, more ideas than finished products. Similarly, Donda Academy seems to be all about the hype. By our humble estimation, it's an aesthetic-focused mode of education where appearance trumps depth. But what happens when schools become all about aesthetics? Okay, to jump back to the Greeks. Now, for Aristotle, the concept of teleology was really important. And this is the idea that we evaluate phenomenon in terms of their aims or final goals. For example, the teleology of watching Detroiters is laughing hard and believing that friendship is real.
We can get twice as much work done with this van.
Absolutely, we can work twice as hard.
Work ourselves into the ground until we blow our brains out like Sebastian's dad.
Or go insane like my dad.
In terms of education, Aristotle thought that its teleological aim was creating a cohesive body of virtuous and thoughtful citizens who contributed to democratic society. And this model was influential well after Aristotle's time. But Donda Academy feels different. Arguably, parents are enrolling their kids because of West's fame and the sense of exceptionalism provided by access to his latest vanity project. And if you're the parent of one of the 82 enrolled students, please let us know if we're wrong. Oh, you can't let us know because of the NDA. This model of schooling is less about creating virtuous, democratic citizens and more about creating exceptional subjects or individualists who would make Ayn Rand proud. To that end, Donda Academy's teleology seems to be fame and exceptionalism, in a way that almost seems to preclude a desire for equality and justice. This is best demonstrated by our favorite and weirdest anecdote about Donda. Recently, a photo circulated of some of the Donda Academy students eating in an empty warehouse while meeting Celtics player Jaylen Brown. Now, Brown has since distanced himself from Donda Academy and Ye more generally. But according to Brown, 3 of the students gave him their autographs. It's a bold move. Now on Instagram, Brown wrote, "They said they will be famous. I believe them." Shout out in the comments, Jaylen Brown, if you really believe that. This pretty hilarious incident suggests what we've suspected, that kids going to Donda Academy would likely internalize Ye's overarching ethos, which is that fame, attention, and celebrity eclipse all else. A couple of attention-happy youngsters following in Ye's footsteps might not seem dangerous, but underlying this ethos is the idea that some individuals are simply exceptional, better, smarter, more creative, more worthy of leadership than other people. And this attitude defines Ye's public persona. In interviews, he operates with the attitude of someone who can't be corrected, can't be educated, can't be wrong because he's simply a genius or a god. Now, this might just be a weird mirror of our celebrity culture where we exalt people more for their social followings than for their character, creativity, and intellect, and in which we associate the marketing-driven logic of fame with the suitability for political leadership. But in another sense, the idea that some human beings are simply exceptional at some foundational, ontological, and religious level has eerie, if not downright terrifying similarities to the political philosophies of some 20th century fascists, one of whom Ye is increasingly starting to parrot. It's the bad one. If you were thinking, is it the bad one? It's the real bad one. Now, before you call us hysterical, it's worth looking to recent reports that Ye has harbored a longtime fascination with Adolf Hitler. In fact, his claim that he's never read a book may be inaccurate, because he apparently has read Mein Kampf. A business executive who used to work for West told CNN that the artist spoke openly about admiring Hitler for his power and propaganda tactics. Apparently, he even considered calling his album Ye Hitler. Hey mom, can you put on Spotify in the car ride to school? What do you want, Timmy? Put on Hitler. What the f? Now, we're not trying to draw a one-to-one between Ye and Hitler, but it's worth noting that in the early years of the Nazi Party's rise to power, it focused intensely on shaping culture and education. And in a sick reversal of Aristotle's call to teach young people to be virtuous and just, Hitler and the Nazis aimed to form young people into exceptional Aryan boys and girls. We've seen how individual thinkers of great influence use school curriculums to perpetuate their worldviews. When the thinker in question was Plato, that meant infusing every course with philosophical inquiry. When it was Hitler, that meant introducing new subjects like racial science, which attempted to lend scientific credence to the Nazi Party's virulent racism. Such a curriculum was infused with the outright worship of the great man behind it. In 1938, German writer Erika Mann estimated that the average student said the greeting Heil Hitler between 50 and 150 times per day. This readied students to support anything that affirmed Hitler's power, and with it, their own German exceptionalism. The horrors that followed are proof of how potent such a strategy can be. Again, this is not a perfect analogy at all. Sure, Ye's school is predicated on one man's own exceptionalism, and while obviously he currently holds no position of political or military power, for now, his cultural capital can't be ignored. There has been a correlation between Ye's public statements and anti-Semitic incidents in recent weeks, with some of them directly invoking Ye himself. It doesn't feel like much of a stretch to think that when a man as idolized as Ye perpetuates age-old ideas of hate, it could have serious consequences. That such a figure wants to parlay some of his influence into shaping young minds should strike us as at least disconcerting, if not downright frightening. Ye himself once rapped that no one man should have all that power. But Donda Academy seems, on an ontological level, to embody just the opposite. And while 5 years ago, a Kanye Academy might have made some of us want to sneak in pretending to be high schoolers like we were Drew Barrymore in Never Been Kissed, today it seems like a case study in the danger of lending too much cultural capital to celebrities. But what do you guys think? Is Donda Academy just the embodiment of Ye's egomaniacalism? What does it mean for a society when education prioritizes fame and exceptionalism over inclusivity and virtue? Please let us know in the comments. As always, like, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps us a lot when you do. And thank you so much to our patrons for all your support. And again, consider checking out our Patreon if you haven't in a while. The link is right there in the description. And as always, thank you so much for spending your time watching us. It means a lot, and we'll see you later.